Howdy, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Orthodox Small Business Alliance. My name is Peter Hoffmann, and I have my dear brother in Christ here, Sean. Sean, would you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Um, so my name is, I want to say my full name, I guess Sean Matthew Haddad, because I go by Matthew sometimes. That's my baptismal name. So I'm a cradle Orthodox, which kind of seems rare these days, at least in terms of who I interact with in the Orthodox world. There's just been so many converts coming to the faith lately that it's been awesome to see. So I attend a Russian parish now, Rokor, but my parents are Lebanese, and so I grew up in the Antiochian church, first generation immigrant. So they immigrated here in the States, back in the 70s. So I grew up here, grew up in the Orthodox Church in Houston, Texas, and up until the last couple years, I moved to Nashville, Tennessee. And so I guess as far as a background for my spiritual life, I would say I kind of, I grew up Orthodox, but I kind of had like a prodigal son period in my life, which I think a lot of people can relate to. Um, Growing up in the modern world, we kind of get caught up in the modern zeitgeist of things, and the messages of the world are really convincing, especially when we're young. And that's partly why, and I'll talk about this later when I talk about my YouTube channel, why I'm starting it is to provide a little bit of help in terms of discernment for young people approaching the world. Because, like I said, if you're young, you kind of don't have enough experience, you don't have enough spiritual discernment. The messages of the world can be really convincing. So, anyways, so my mid to late 20s, I kind of had my own catechism of coming back to the church and really learning my faith and delving into it very deeply. And still in that process. I'm in my mid 30s, so it's obviously a lifelong thing, but that's what I've been going through. And then professionally, I'm a chemical engineer by education. But as you know, I'm a business enthusiast. So I've been in several startups in the past, and I'm always enjoying new projects and coming up with new ideas. So yeah.
That's so cool. Right on. Yeah, I don't know anything about chemical engineering, but I find it fascinating. I wonder how hard is it to maybe start a business uh, in that space, or would it take quite much, quite a bit more effort than just one person?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do consulting, then it wouldn't really take much more effort than one person. However, if you want to consult, you need to be like really either an extreme expert in some particular subject within the chemical engineering world, or you need to have a lot of experience because it's such a vast industry in terms of like the amount of knowledge you need to have that it requires like years and years of experience and study and professional advancement to kind of get to that level where you could offer enough value to be, a consultant or to start your own chemical engineering business. And as much as an interesting topic it is to study and to work in, it's not like my passion that drives me, you know, yeah, it's not my passion that drives me. I mean, it's always something that's been kind of a means to an end, and that means, or that end is to make money, right? So, uh, it's been great and formative in that capacity, but I've always been looking for other things, which is why, I've been into business and done all kinds of different stuff. As you know, I've dabbled in video game development, but I've also done catering startups, and I've
Really? Oh, that's so cool.
done mobile apps. Yeah, I've done all kinds of different stuff. Um, I kind of have that personality where I like to start things and grow them, but I always need someone to kind of like push me to carry through with beyond that.
That sounds familiar. Sounds a bit like myself.
That's right.
Sometimes, yeah, but well, I think that's amazing. I didn't realize just how much of an entrepreneurial spirit you have. Um, but in the professional world, I mean, it would be more than just one person. So professionally speaking, it makes sense to have a team of people around you, all pushing one another. Um, but that's great that you're there to start things, and that's often the hardest part to just
Mhm.
get something going.
Yeah. Well, the hardest part for someone else is, can be easy for us and vice versa. So that's why
Of
it's good
course,
to have
yeah.
a team, to have people to cover your weaknesses, right? But I say that, but my next venture is kind of a solo thing. At least, for now, we'll see. But as we'll talk about it. But yeah, I'm wanting to start this Orthodox YouTube channel called the Body Ascetic, which is an old idea I've had for actually many years. That's kind of evolved over time. Uh, but the okay, so let me say, okay, so I studied chemical engineering, right? But my real passions were not in chemical engineering. They were in fitness, outdoors, nature, camping, rock climbing, that kind of stuff. And as you know, video games. I love video games. It's a huge hobby of mine. Um, so when I was studying chemical engineering and I'm, like late at night in the computer labs when I'm supposed to be cramming for an exam, I'd be like reading articles about like bodybuilding by these like super jacked like PhD dudes that were just writing advanced exercise science, and I'm just like, this is so
Oh
awesome.
yeah.
As I'm like procrastinating studying engineering. Um, so I always had this idea to kind of turn my fitness approach to training as a brand, because what I specialize in is relative strength, which means that I try to maximize my strength output, my force output, by while minimizing my body weight. So it's a strength athlete position, but not in the sense of like what you typically encounter in the powerlifting world, where they just try to get as huge as possible and lift as much as possible. Whereas I try to lift as much as possible, but stay as small as possible. So it's more applicable to body weight class sports like UFC or um, Ninja Warrior or wrestling or any kind of sport that requires to make weight. And it started off that way. I wanted to brand this kind of method of training, because after about a decade of training, I was pretty much at a point where I kind of mastered uh, weight loss and being and staying lean while still being able to lift at a 80% to 90% rep max in the gym. So anyways, that kind of evolved over time, and I started to realize the applicability in the Orthodox context, because the kind of point of the training style is that you're not being excessive about anything. So, let's say you want to build some muscle, grow a little bit so that you can increase your power output. The world will tell you like, oh, you got to bulk, you got to eat, 3,000 calories a day, 4,000 calories a day, and you know, in doing so, you'll gain a little chub and get a little fat on you and just grow a little bit. And then you got to lean out afterwards and lose the fat, but then keep the muscle and do these kind of bodybuilding cycles. Whereas my approach was more like just to eat just enough to fuel your body and give it the nutrients it needs to grow, but not go any more beyond that, which is pretty orthodox. I mean, I can't remember the name of the saint, but there was a saint that basically said that, let's say if you need 100 grams of bread to survive and you eat 110 grams of bread, that 10 extra grams is sinful, which is pretty pretty extreme. I mean, we eat that 10 grams excess all the time. Um, but that was kind of the point, was to approach fitness in a way that's not excessive and doesn't give into gluttony, because people think of gluttony in terms of a fat person, but a 220-pound bodybuilder that's shoveling food in his mouth all day to make 4,000 5,000 calories a day, that's also gluttony. You're eating like the amount of calories for two people. And that's very prevalent in the fitness world. I will say, if you're not familiar with it, that's like if you open up fitness Instagram, that's like all you're gonna see is just like these giant jack dudes, uh, eating tons of food, and obviously behind the scenes they're abusing steroids. So that's another excess of there that you can fall under the term gluttony, right? Drug abuse and things like that. So, anyway, so that brand started to take on an Orthodox context, and it became the Body Ascetic. So that's something that I've been wanting to do for a while now. I started a book. I um, did some training programs, but then I started to think about a YouTube channel. Now, I didn't want to start a fitness YouTube channel or an Orthodox fitness YouTube channel because that's kind of starting to be a thing now, and you start to see that prop up every now and then. And I'm the kind of person that like once people are doing something already, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do something else. So,
Yeah.
so what it became now is the thesis of the body aesthetic is I want to introduce asceticism to a non-Orthodox audience in a non-Orthodox way. And my approach to that is asceticism in the monastic context consists kind of three things, right? It's worship, obviously, of God, Christ. It's self-denial in terms of wearing black every day, uh, not trimming your beard and hair, not having mirrors so that you can give into vanity, eating simple meals every day. So it's a resistance of temptation in all those ways. And then repetitive ritual practice. So, Vespers every day, regular liturgies, regular prayers, regular work, all that kind of stuff. So those concepts can be applied really to any aspirational goal. And that's the way I'm approaching this with Body Ascetic, is that you can take worship and turn that into focus, right? Because that's what worship is you're focusing on God, on Christ. Um, but like if you're a small business owner and you're starting a small business, your business is your focus. You're essentially worshiping your business when you're trying to start it up because it requires so much attention, so much focus. And then the self-control aspect of like resisting temptation, you also have to resist the temptation of distraction that tries to pull you in different directions away from your focus on your goal. And then the repetitive practice is just a repetitive action. So every day you take action towards your business and towards your goal in order to achieve it. So that applies in the fitness context, of course, and it also applies to business, and it applies really to any goal. So that's how I'm trying to kind of rebrand asceticism as almost like a self-help, self-mastery type of thing in terms of explaining it to the world in a way the world will understand, the non-Orthodox world specifically.
Well, that sounds really great. Let me see. Yeah, I know steroids, as you mentioned, is really prevalent, and and actually I think well, it might come in waves with popularity, but I hear that that's also kind of a big problem, and especially if you're used to doing those things, and then you find yourself coming into holy orthodoxy, uh, that you would certainly find yourself face to face with a problem there,
Hmm.
and maybe even find yourself having to come to terms to change your goals. Uh,
Right.
I wonder how what you're trying to do might help people maybe change their mind uh, with some of the preconceived notions that they might have about themselves, and about bodybuilding, and maybe even just about the notion of power, when it comes to
Mm.
strength, is there anything that you might have prepared, um, to that might speak to that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a big part of the motivation for starting this was to provide a alternative perspective for young men because young men are opening Instagram and they're seeing these roided out dudes claiming to be natural. Um, like I said, excessive eating, excessive consumption, massive muscles, and of course they're selling something. They're selling supplements. They're selling workout programs. So they look a certain way, but they're advertising themselves as something they're not. They say they're natural. They don't abuse steroids. So a young man that doesn't know, he sees that and he goes, "Oh, I can be like that guy. I just need to eat a certain way. I just need to lift a certain way. I just need to do what they do. I need to buy their products, and then I can
Yeah,
be like them." And it's a common story that young men kind of go down this path and get to a point where they get dejected because they go to the gym every day, they eat the diet every day, and it's hard. It is truly ascetics. It requires a lot of discipline to stick to those training programs and diet programs. And after, weeks to months to maybe even years, they start to see, results, but not the same results that they're seeing on Instagram. After a year of training, it's like, I don't look like that 220 pound bodybuilder that I see on Instagram every day. What gives, It's like, uh, I did all the things, right? I did all the steps. And then it's in that moment, it becomes a huge temptation to then start to indulge in steroids. And you talked about the prevalence of steroids. It's pretty wild. People think of steroids in terms of the professional athlete world, but the amount of steroid use that goes on in just the everyday Joe Schmo world is kind of crazy. I think I remember reading a statistic that, obviously you're not going to get like direct statistics, but it was estimated that 40% of average gym goers in commercial gyms have used steroids at least once, right? So people that abuse steroids, obviously a smaller percentage, but that's a crazy number. That's like that's almost like half, almost a majority.
yeah,
Um, and so I wanted to provide an alternative for young men that is more edifying spiritually, because there is a place for fitness in the spiritual life. And, I think people like Father Moses McPherson provide that um, um, validation, right, through their ministry as a buff priest, right?
yeah,
Um, so there are ways to go about it that we can honor God with our bodies in a fitness way, while at the same time, you know, having enough spiritual discernment to be able to avoid these spiritual traps that go along with fitness.
yeah.
So there's a lot of vanity, there's a lot of pride, there's a lot of gluttony, a lot of lust, of course. So like I mentioned, I have a video on the Body Ascetic about the sins of the fitness industry, where I pretty much touch on all these things.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, also too, it's like you have to realize that people are different, So someone who's not built a certain way, who's maybe just naturally slender or lean, perhaps, and they're trying their hardest to look a certain way to get, bulky, then they might do something that would otherwise hurt themselves. They're just hurt themselves
Mm.
trying to get to a specific aesthetic rather than ascetic. But yeah,
Right.
um, you know, and I can imagine, uh, asceticism would have a lot to, help individuals like that and steer them away from maybe hurting themselves.
Definitely. And I had this thought recently, actually. It's about asceticism. Big topic, so I'm trying to think how I can put this. So I have a video that I'm preparing now that's essentially about globalism and how it's a it's a rehashing of the story of the Tower of Babel. And the Tower of Babel is also kind of a rehash of the fall because the Tower of Babel is humanity pretty much brute forcing their way to heaven, to godhood. Um, and that was essentially what the temptation of the fruit was, right? Was
Yeah.
I think the father's right that we were always meant to partake of the fruit, but until we had to be spiritually ready, and God had a time and place for us to partake of it, but we took it for ourselves, listening to the temptation of the snake because we wanted the power like a shortcut, right? So it's the same thing as the Tower of Babel. It's like we build a tower up to heaven, um, and what it is we're trying to reach God through external means, through fruit, through a tower, rather than trying to reach God internally in our heart, which is what asceticism is, and especially in the terms of the monastic life. When you look at the icon of the ladder of divine ascent, the climbing up of the ladder of virtue towards God, towards theosis, that is ascetics. The climbing of the ladder is the practice of ascetics. So asceticism is it is how we come to God, how we achieve godhood in a sense, right? So my tagline for the body aesthetic is become godlike.
Mm.
Because again, I'm trying to talk in the language of the world, right? But that's what theosis is we're trying to become like God. Obviously through cooperation with Him and the Holy Spirit and through grace. But that's kind of what it boils down to. So it's just interesting how the end goal of both the fall or the consequences of the fall in terms of eating the fruit and the Tower of Babel and where what we're trying to achieve in asceticism in growing towards Christ, it's going to the same endpoint, but the means is very important. The means is what either actually gets us there to heaven, or in trying to get to heaven, we end up in hell. And so that's part of the video that I'm preparing is kind of explaining that that's what's happening now in the world with globalism and the attempt to establish a pretty much a one world system, global system, economic system, political system. And kind of under that umbrella is also the idea of transhumanism. And it's the same thing of the Tower of Babel. It's we're using technology, i.e. the tower, to make our way to heaven to escape the because remember the Tower of Babel came after the flood, so the whole point of the tower was to escape the flood, which is to escape death and suffering. And that's exactly what transhumanism is all about, is to escape death and suffering. So it's using technology to become godlike, right? Using external means to get into heaven. It's the apple, it's the tower, it's all the same thing. Um, so it's really interesting to see it play out in real time in the world around you. But again, like when I was young and I didn't have that spiritual discernment, the offering of the world was very enticing. So the world will offer you, hey, install this chip in your brain and or whatever, like whatever the transhumanism comes out to be, it'll cure this and that. It'll make you think faster and clearer and you put these augments in your body, you'll be stronger, you'll be faster. Um, no more disease, no more this, that, no more death, right? Your consciousness can be turned into an AI and then downloaded into the cloud. So um, it's it's again, it's that climbing through externally trying to reach God But again, the means is important. So doing so in this way, rather than doing it internally, through love of Christ and transforming ourselves um, in a way that we're emptied out and Christ can fill us up. That's how we achieve godhood. But when we try to do it externally, we're going to end up in hell. And that's why, you know, every sci-fi novel that's about a dystopia, it started off as a utopia. And humanity knows this in some form or another, like whether they're religious or not, deep down. It's like whenever you try to achieve utopia, it always ends in dystopia, right?
Yeah.
And that's because of exactly what we're talking about. And so if you're in the life of the church and you're in the faith and you study these things, you start to see that more and more. And that's another thing that I wanted to provide through the body ascetic is kind of a means to express um, that spiritual discernment for social things, cultural events, political happenings, so that young people can kind of have a little bit of a guide to navigate, what's happening in the world. And I label that series, I call it Ancient Faith, Modern Takes. And so I'm providing a little bit of social commentary and political commentary in that series. So I have that, and then I have the kind of the ascetics, fitness, self-help type of content.
How many videos do you have so far?
Um, Including short videos, maybe like 30, 35, something like that.
Oh, okay. Wow. So, well, how often do you produce these videos?
Well, in the beginning, I was really brute forcing it because I'm new to the whole thing, like video editing, recording, audio editing, all that stuff. I'm new to it all, so I wanted to try to make as many videos as I could in the beginning to like iterate fast, right? So I can learn quickly and increase quality. So I was trying to do 3 videos a week when I first started back in April. It usually ended up doing maybe two, but then my kid was born in July, so that stopped for a couple months, and then when I started coming back, it started to be less frequent, and now I'm taking a lot longer, and I'm focusing on quality and longer videos. So they're taking me a lot longer. This new video is taking me like probably 3 weeks so far, and all the recording and editing, and probably have another week to go. So
Yeah, I
uh,
imagine with a topic like that, I I can imagine you would be too quick to produce videos. And
yeah,
congratulations, by the way, on
thank you,
your newborn.
thank you.
Um, all right, let's see here. Okay, let's see. Well, do you have any other plans um on how you might be expanding the body aesthetic, or will it just be videos for the time being?
Good question. It's gonna be videos for the time being. I do want to, well, let's say I want to build an audience first and see where I can go from there because even just building that audience is very difficult. And I don't like to get ahead of myself.
Yeah,
I do want to sort of penetrate the online orthosphere a little bit. So I do want to get into, um, let's say, J Dyer circles and Eternal Logos circles and those kind of folks, just to provide a different kind of content that they don't, and offer also a perspective from a cradle Orthodox because I do notice that a lot of actually pretty much all of the online Orthodox sphere is all converts. And
seemingly, yeah.
yeah, I don't know of any real cradle that I know of that are at least big. Maybe smaller creators are there, but I don't know. I don't know where my cradles are at. We got to get them motivated. I love converts because they're so on fire for orthodoxy that they want to do everything orthodox,
That's true,
and
yeah.
it's amazing. And it's like we need to get that in the cradle guys. So
But you
uh,
mentioned Dr. David Patrick Harry,
yeah.
DPH, Dr. DPH. Aside from him, are there any other perhaps bodybuilders, either Orthodox, non-Orthodox, that you'd like to collaborate with? If so, who are they, and have you attempted to reach out to them already?
Not yet. I do have some names in mind, but I'm not gonna mention them until I'm ready to reach out to them. Um, I'm kind of in that space where it's like, I just started, so I have like 29 subscribers. It's not a big channel, right? Uh,
Currently
and
bigger than OSBA. We've got 12 subscribers at the time of this recording.
well, let's look back at a year from now and see where we're at. Um,
Yeah, that'll be great.
but I kind of want to be at a place where I have something to really offer. Yeah, I do have my perspective to offer, and I do have my approach to offer. But in terms of like collaboration, where we can both benefit, with an audience from each other's audience, I kind of want to get to a point where I have something to offer in that way. And also, I want to get to a point where my videos are a lot more polished and not just me talking in front of an iPhone. Um, but kind of a little bit more professional, a little bit more, um, what do they say? Higher production values. That's the word that people like to use. So yeah, I do have some names in mind, and I will be reaching out to them, God willing, at some point in the future. But right now, I'm focused on the content and the quality.
That's great. Um, yeah, we have OSBA has featured at least one other person by a brother by the name of Colin Zastro. He has primal training and anti-fragile fitness.
Hmm.
Um, let's see, and then there's another brother by the name of Arthur Mina, who is also really big into mixed martial arts, fitness, um, and supplements. So if you're not familiar with him or with those two brothers, maybe you might want to check them out.
Yeah, send me their information.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be great. It sounds right up my alley. I mean, I used to be obsessed with primal stuff when I was in college, in my early 20s. Uh, Actually, I tell people this story. It's funny because when I worked in the office as a young engineer, in my early 20s, I'm stuck in a cubicle under fluorescent light all day, and I got obsessed with primal living. So there's this big green field uh, right next to the office building. And during my lunch breaks, I'd go out there, I'd take my shirt off to get sunlight, vitamin D, and I'd run barefoot in this green field, like right next to the office. And then I'd go back inside and shower and whatever, and then I'd be like walking the hallways, seeing people I know, and they're like, "Was that you out there in in the field with your shoes off, running around?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah." That was me. Sometimes you got to go ape, you just gotta get in touch with nature.
oh yeah, yeah. But we hear about grounding.
Exactly.
So like grounding yourself, touching your feet, touching the soil.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, let's see here. Yeah, I can't. I think this would be. I think this is a really great idea. I think body aesthetic. I think it would be really cool if you even, you had opportunity to uh, do like on the street question and answering,
Mm.
talk to people on the at the gym. There's a lot of fun opportunities. I've seen a lot of funny like gym skits, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Maybe inject some humor in there. I imagine.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to do that's another thing actually. maybe I can talk about because I'm trying to add a little bit of humor in my videos, like using memes and stuff like that. And sometimes my jokes can be a little risque and the memes, I don't want to say scandalous, but definitely risque. And sometimes I'm like editing and I'm like, I don't know if my priest is gonna approve this. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm experimenting right now. So
Oh, that's another thing too. It's well, of course, there's Father Moses. There's also Father Zachariah. I know who likes to
mhm,
um, post about fitness. It'd be really fun to, I mean, eventually get to that level where you can maybe hang out with them, or even your own priest to go to the gym and he could provide some sort of uh, pastoral commentary about your
mhm.
time at the gym.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
That'd be
Uh
fun.
yeah, for sure, Father Moses, right on my alley. I know a little bit about Father Zechariah. I haven't really seen a lot of his stuff, but I know I see sometimes his deadlifts on Instagram, and he's pretty strong. Um, but yeah, God willing, one day, definitely would love to connect with those guys and get some pastoral, um, I don't want to say judgment, say guidance
Yeah,
on
yeah.
fitness.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can yeah, I bet there's so much insight, you know. And even also like we were talking about gluttony and lust. But also I imagine you might be able to talk about routine and the amount of time folks spend in the gym. Maybe
Mhm.
even talk about how to spend time away from the gym if that's required and on a spiritual context.
Oh yeah, definitely. Even I would say obsessing over food, like not necessarily eating too much, but if you're dieting, I've been there like so many times where it's like literally all day I'm thinking about what am I gonna eat? What am I gonna eat? I need 40 more grams of protein. Like, I need 50 more grams of carbs. What I'm gonna eat? Like, uh, and it can consume you. It can consume your attention. Like we said, what you focus on is what you worship, right? So if you're constantly thinking about the gym and food and your body and your muscles and your abs and all this stuff, you start to worship yourself,
Yeah,
and definitely it's a big temptation. Um, so I understand it when you're first starting out, like it does take a lot of just like starting a business, right? It takes a lot of focus because it's all new to you. You're learning a lot. You're learning what to do in the gym. You're learning how to use your body in the gym, the proper form for every lift. And then in terms of like what you're supposed to eat and what foods contain what macros and all this stuff, there's a lot to learn. So I don't disparage people when they're starting out and they're constantly thinking about these things because there's a lot to take in. But then you get to a certain point, like where I'm at, where you kind of have all this knowledge internalized, then you can kind of take a step back and not be so obsessive about what you're eating, about how you're working out, and how often you're working out. So you just gotta get there.
welcome back, folks. Welcome back to the OSBA corner. Um, okay, so let's see. You know what I kind of want to know more about is in your wildest dreams, where would you like to take Body Ascetic in your wildest dreams?
Man, that's a good question. The wildest dreams.
Most
Um,
wild.
I don't like to think too big because well, no, that's not true actually. I do like to think big because my favorite saying is like shoot for the stars. If you don't make it, land on the moon, right?
It's pretty big.
Um, it's pretty big, right? Actually, as Orthodox, our ultimate goal is to be with God. That's like the biggest goal you could possibly imagine, right? So, okay, scratch that. Think big. Um, it would be really, really cool to train professional Orthodox athletes. Um, Actually, I'm a strength coach. Uh, My certification expired, but I used to be certified as a strength and conditioning specialist, and this is by the National Conditioning and Strength Association, National Strength and Conditioning Association, NSCA. Okay,
Been
it's
that
been a
long,
while.
huh?
It's been that long. Um, but that certification is like centered around training professional athletes. So like NBA, uh, MLB, NFL, and I got that certification because I heard it was really challenging to get. And go big or go home, right? So I went for that. But then I ended up just training, doing personal training. So kind of overshot there, but I think it'd be really cool to train professional athletes and specifically like training MMA athletes, Orthodox MMA athletes, because like I said, my particular brand of fitness is maximizing strength output while minimizing body weight. So that literally is perfect for combat oriented sports. And it's so cool to watch UFC and to see like, Russian guy or Serbian guy, make the sign of the cross before he gets in the ring.
That is really
And
cool, actually.
yeah, it's really inspiring too, and it allows us also to see how you can glorify God in almost any way, right? So even when you're beating the crap out of someone, you can be glorifying God, as long as your victory is, given up to Him and offered up to Him and not claimed for your own, right?
Jesus wrestles. He wrestles. He knows how, and
That's right.
boxes too.
Yeah, that's right. Also, I will say what would be cool too is I've had this idea a long time ago. I don't know how it would work logistically and financially, but I thought of like an altar boy boot camp, which I think would be really fun. To just kind of have like it could be like a summer program maybe for young kids, um, where you teach them fitness and weightlifting and, manly stuff, and also kind of how to conduct yourself as an altar boy, just kind of like everything that a young man would kind of need to grow into a man, I think would be really cool.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that reminds me of another brother online. Forget his name at the moment, but actually, Path of Manliness. Are you familiar with this brother?
No,
Yeah,
that sounds awesome.
he was on Jonathan Pajot's podcast
Was he? Wow.
a couple times, and he's also uh, had a podcast with Father Josiah, and
Wow.
he might be someone you could reach out to. Path of Manliness. Great brother.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Look out for him.
So what is the gist of it? Is it
He
community, a channel?
Yeah, well, all of the above. He also has in-person events where there's some sort of uh, training involved, some sort of physical fitness, a level of physical fitness, um, and camaraderie bonding, of course, spiritually, physically, and
Yeah,
all of that.
awesome.
Yeah, I like your ideas. I think we need certainly more opportunities to get together, to be in the flesh with one another. It's important.
Yeah, some more brotherhood activities beyond just you know, beer and Bibles and um actually we've been doing poker night at my church. This has been fun. It's like a fundraiser for church. We just throw money down as a pot and it goes to the church and we play poker. But I'm a physical guy, man. I love to do sports and that like all my outdoor activities like caving and climbing. Like I don't like to just uh you know drive by nice scenery or drive through mountains. I want to like actually climb them. I want to actually explore and in a way that like exhausts my body. So um I'm always trying to get people to do things with me like rock climbing, stuff like that. And sometimes this can be challenging.
Yeah, I've seen a bit of your Instagram. Or you're an ortho splunker, or are you an ortho caver?
We like to use the word caver.
Okay,
Apparently, spelunker is a normie term.
good to know.
Um,
Right. Let me see here. Yeah, so you want to train MMA fighters who are in like the national spotlight, all over the world, internationally, or just in
oh
like, the
yeah,
US?
man, cosmically even. Just kidding.
Wow, I like that. Okay. Um, let's see. So let's see. I guess sorry, I have a couple questions that might be kind of tied to one another. Are there what are some challenges that you might have, pain points as you're coming up, um, building this brand of yours?
Yeah, very good question. I have two. I'll give one spiritual challenge and one not spiritual challenge. What I'm kind of currently wrestling with is for where I'm tr kind of taking the channel, especially in terms of I talked about ancient faith, modern takes, kind of a commentary on social and political things. I like to infuse things with some comedy. I well, even when I talk about serious subjects, I always throw in jokes. It's just kind of the person I am, like, um, and so I want to do that in my videos, and I can be a little irreverent, which is a little bit of understatement, but um, I've been trying to find this balance of how I can be, a little risque with my comedy, but still within the uh, bounds of being edifying and not misrepresenting orthodoxy in any kind of negative way. Um, and like I told you before, like it's like I'll throw in some jokes or some memes that I think are hilarious, but then I'm like in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't know if my priest is gonna approve of this. And if I'm having those thoughts, I probably shouldn't put it in the video. Um, so that's kind of been my main spiritual challenge is I want to be engaging, I want to be a little bit funny, and I want to speak in the language that the world understands, while at the same time, maintaining my integrity as an Orthodox person.
Yeah,
And well, that being said, that's why we have confession. So,
yeah,
um, but yeah, that's my main spiritual challenge. As far as a not spiritual challenge, starting a YouTube in 2025 is kind of foolish. You know, it's one of those things that's like, especially now with AI, it's like the amount of content that's just being pumped out is just astronomical. And, obviously the majority of it is low quality content, but you're still having to compete with that stuff. And I am like totally, totally at the mercy of this algorithm, of this robot, right? In terms of whether my videos get views or not. So I upload a video, the algorithm decides whether it puts my video in front of people or not, or how many people it puts in front of. And that's kind of daunting because if you think of it in terms of starting a business, which is how I'm approaching it, you want to be in control of your growth. You want to be in control of how much money you make or not. And I mean, obviously, there's some level of control that you don't have, but as a YouTube creator, it's like you're totally at the mercy of the algorithm. When you don't have an audience. When you have an audience, at least you have a subscriber base to push content forward towards, especially when you have loyal viewers. But when you're just starting out and uh, you don't have that audience base, you're totally at the mercy of this robot. So that's kind of been the main challenge of figuring out, you really can't figure it out, but you're trying to figure out what the robot likes and what it doesn't like. Because at the end of the day, if you're releasing, 10, 20, 50, 100 videos and, you know, it's going to, you're getting like 20 views, 30 views, you're not getting seen, then ultimately it's kind of a fruitless endeavor. So that's been the main non-spiritual challenge that I faced.
Yeah, which is also why it's so important to start building up communities and cross-pollinating these communities.
Hmm.
Like with OSBA, and introducing you to the audience of OSBA, and just boosting each other, helping each other, coming together, helping each other and build. So it's
Definitely.
super, super important.
And the helping each other is pretty crucial that we need to kind of focus on fostering too, because it's easy to kind of get consumed in your own thing, and I think that happens a lot is everyone kind of gets consumed in their own pursuit.
Yeah.
Um, but we do need to make an effort to build each other up, and iron sharpens iron, as the scripture tells us, and um, so especially what, like you said, cross-pollinating when people are doing things that relate to each other, it's always good to connect them, and that's why I'm in full support of OSBA. I think it's such a great um, project and a great endeavor, and I hope it grows and grows and grows and grows and keeps growing.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, well, it kind of relates to another question, but what does it feel like being yet another Orthodox voice online? Have you felt any particular thoughts about that?
Yeah, definitely. I told the brother that I was starting a YouTube channel, and he asked me why, and uh, I mean, really, what it boils down to is I need to make money because, like I told you, my job ended last Friday, but I didn't want to be. I was really hesitant starting a YouTube channel because I didn't want to be just another voice on the internet, just another person saying, I got something to say, come listen to me, come subscribe to my channel, like, share, and subscribe. You know, I didn't want to be another one of those. Yet here we are. Um, but like you said earlier, having more Orthodox voices is better, is better than not, right? So um, even if we're all kind of saying the same thing, which if we're Orthodox, we should be all saying the same thing, the more voices putting forth those spiritually edifying ideas and concepts and content, the more the better, right?
Yeah.
And I do think I have, I don't want to say unique perspective, but I do think I have somewhat of a special perspective. And my approach to communicating Orthodox concepts, I like to do it, like I said, in a kind of comedic way, in a very casual way, very, very non-pastorally, right? So there's a lot of pastoral voices, thank God, that we have on YouTube, like Father Moses, like Father Josiah, like Father Spiridon, and Father Turbo, and God willing, we'll have even more and more. But it's nice to have kind of a non-pastoral perspective on things and a non-pastoral voice because I've at least been told, like especially from new converts, that they love engaging with especially people like kind of in a similar place, like similar age bracket, and um, they like to communicate with someone that's in a similar place to them that's Orthodox because it gives them a little bit more solid grounding in their choice to convert, let's say, and gives them more perspective, more support, uh, yeah, more support, more all the good things. So I'm happy to be, another voice like that. Even if it helps one person,
Yeah.
it's good because I can't remember which saint, and I need to memorize like this the saints that say these quotes, but a saint said that an individual human soul is more valuable than the entire cosmos, and more valuable to God than the entire cosmos. And so even if I just help one person, either discover orthodoxy or be convinced to convert to orthodoxy, if I just show the truth to one person, that's has infinite value. So
Saint
um,
Simeon.
Saint Simeon, awesome.
There we go.
Thanks for thanks for looking that up for me.
Got your back. Yeah, and you
Appreciate
know
you.
what? You know what else? There's no one else like you. There's only one you. So you can take that for whatever it's worth.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's see here. What else? Oh yeah, okay. So can you just go a little deeper, maybe into some specifics, or key features, or perhaps details about how you're delivering your message? Is there anything particular to that? As you say, you kind of didn't want to talk necessarily in an orthodox way, but you're trying to maybe meet people where they are, don't have an orthodox worldview.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So like I said, I'm trying to introduce asceticism in a non-Orthodox way. And when you in doing that, basically what I'm trying to do is adopt the language of the world to communicate the same message. So how do you communicate asceticism to the West? Even Christians, even Western Christians, Protestants, Baptists, they don't have any concept of asceticism. So how do you introduce that concept? Um, Adopting the language of the world and the way the world thinks to present that message will allow them to understand it in a way that I don't think they would otherwise if you just, you know, showed them a supercut of like Mount Athos monks like chanting Byzantine and like someone who has no experience of that is just like, what am I looking at, right? Um, so introducing asceticism in worldly terms, so as a means of asceticism is a means of achieving a goal by dedicating yourself fully to that goal. So you're so focused on it, essentially you're worshiping it, you're focused on it, you're eliminating distractions around you that take you away from that goal, and you're repetitively taking action, marching towards it. So in terms of like, self-help and self-improvement, self-mastery, that's exactly how you improve yourself in any kind of way, physical, spiritual, mentally, or otherwise. Um, in order to master the intellect and to let's say master an intellectual pursuit, you got to study, you got to focus on your books, you got to not be uh, you know like me where I was staying up all night when I was supposed to be studying for engineering and I'm reading like Lord of the Rings creation lore and myth on Wikipedia. Like that's distraction, right? That's taking you away from the objective, from the goal. So that's my message is I want to explain orthodox concepts, but in a way that the world can understand. The world understands self-improvement and self-mastery and self-help. And also, let's say like fasting, I can't explain fasting as a means of self-denial and um, I don't know, flagellation. Is that a word? I don't know.
It
Like
is now.
it is now, yeah. Like in the sense of like you're like kind of beating yourself with this you know, um, difficult task, difficult diet, which is to, not eat meat, not eat dairy, um, for 50 days, right? Like let's say during Lent. Um, so instead of using words like self-denial and speaking about fasting, we can use the word mindfulness So you're being mindful about what you're putting in your body, what you're putting in your mouth. And actually, I think I don't know if it's the saints say this, but there's a saying in Orthodoxy that's like, if you can't control what you put in your mouth, then how can you control what comes out of your mouth? And that's kind of like an argument for why we should fast, right? Um, so there's little tweaks in ways you can communicate Orthodox ethos and Orthodox way of life and Orthodox concepts in a non-Orthodox way that people may understand. And that's what I want to tap into and focus on. So I've been kind of trying to figure out how to brand myself because so far I've been very overtly Orthodox, but I kind of want to take it in a direction where I'm a lot more subtle and presenting myself as just kind of like regular Western Joe Schmo product of the 21st century, millennials. But then like I'm introducing a faith that's so ancient that many people may not know about it yet, right? Um, the true original Christianity that Christ, taught and taught the apostles who then spread it and preached the gospel around the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that St. Paul talks about boxing and just his sort of use of of some of the terms and some of the ideas of boxing. It kind of intrigues me even more, and that maybe that particular sport, because you kind of feel like you're kind of getting closer to maybe experiencing some of what he might have been talking about.
Yeah,
So,
well, the word ascetics, obviously it's Greek, right?
mm,
Ascesis. It
mhm,
originally referred to the Olympian athletes
mm,
because obviously to be an Olympian, you're dedicating yourself fully to your sport, right? So the practice of asceticism is like what we've been saying. It's that total focus, elimination of distractions, and training, repetitive training and practice. Um, it wasn't until later that the word began to be applied in the spiritual sense to the monastic life. Um, so again, it works in any capacity when you're struggling towards a goal.
yeah,
Same thing with starting a business. It requires total focus and repetitive action.
right. Yeah, I know that the word athlete comes up in some troparions where we refer to some of the great martyrs
Hmm.
as athletes
Hmm.
for the Lord.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
it
I mean St.
spurs
Paul,
that.
just like you said, he also said, he says it's a race. We're running a
Hmm.
race, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So there's lots of parallels and overlaps between, physical training and spiritual training.
yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, I think it'd be great to have more folks make that connection. Uh, so get
Hmm.
an influx of some gym folks coming into the church too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And
There's,
another thing I also want to comment on, because, and I hate that I have to even say this, but because Gnosticism is kind of like coming back, and
mm,
I even have personal experience with people trying to like preach Gnosticism to me, and I'm like, do you know who you're talking to? Anyways, um, we have this like negative view of the body,
yeah,
especially when it comes to kind of the Western thinking of increasing myself spiritually. I have to like beat myself down physically. But the body is God's creation, and God, everything that God created is good by its very nature. Of course, we are fallen, and we live in a fallen world, and we experiences the consequences of the fall. But inherently, the body is good. It's the temple for the Holy Spirit, right? As
right.
the Scripture says. So there is a way to honor our bodies in a spiritual way that doesn't, let's say, become a temptation where we go too far in that direction and we're obsessed with our bodies and the physical side of things and lose sight of the spiritual. But there's a kind of middle ground where we can kind of, marry the two, where um, we let me put it this way. In the Orthodox life, it's very embodied. When you go to church, you hear hymns in your ears, you smell incense in your nose, you see icons and the iconostas and all over the church. You taste the body and blood of Christ, right? We use all five senses.
You bend your
You
body in,
bow, you
yeah, prostration.
prostrate,
Yeah.
exactly. So we engage the body in worship. But what if you're 400 pounds
Yeah.
and you can't prostrate?
Yeah.
Like
Lord
you
have
literally
mercy. Yeah.
can't go down to the ground and prostrate. So there is some aspect of the spiritual life where we have to be healthy enough to be able to do these things. Um, Obviously, like there's people with medical conditions or disabilities that don't allow them to. But if you're an otherwise able-bodied person and you're able to exercise, you're able to honor your body by eating healthy and eating appropriately, then it should be part of your goals to get to a point where you can engage in the fullness of the Orthodox spiritual life um, by being healthy enough and fit enough to do so. Try 40 prostrations. It'll get your heart rate up. You'll start sweating.
It does. Yeah. Most certainly. Yeah. And what else I like too is that maybe more association with all of what you're saying with gym culture or fitness culture, kind of carve out a space for Holy Orthodoxy, and don't leave it, don't leave uh, this sort of fitness space for like the yoga enthusiasts or the new age enthusiasts to just
Yeah.
take it over. I think it's a great way to again carve out a space for orthodox concepts in this sort of like fitness culture. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. And it's becoming more and more of a need, especially because Orthodoxy is growing so rapidly in America. And there's a lot of particularly young men that are coming to the church. And um, I would say like probably the vast majority of them are single. I mean, you probably experienced that in your church where there's just a lot of young single guys getting catechized and baptized, and they're at a stage in life where they're like, okay, now I'm looking for a wife. It's time.
yeah.
I need to settle down, start a family.
And they're all
And
buff. They're all buff and waiting for a bride, and
yeah,
they're ready. They're ready to be married.
yeah, I don't know about
They're all
that.
super ripped, just
Let's just
waiting
say,
for
let's just
a
say
lady.
some guidance will be helpful. Yeah, so I definitely like, I'd love to help those guys.
Yeah,
I'd love to be a positive influence on them. And, uh, you know, just from me to you, from Sean to Peter, like I've talked with guys that like, let's say are like really nerdy, and I'm really nerdy too. Like I said, video games is like one of my favorite hobbies and a passion of mine. And a lot of them, they have this mentality. It's like, oh, I got to give up like video games or the things that I like and enjoy in order to become like a buff, ripped, manly guy that can get a wife or whatever. And it's like, no, man, you don't. Like, trust me. Like, you can still play video games and make money, and have a six pack. Like,
I don't know.
believe me, you can do it. Like, I still play games like at least an hour a night. So like, if I can do it, you could do it.
Wow.
Um, but
Wait until
I
you
want to.
have wait until you have two or three children.
Yeah, okay, okay. You got me there. But for a guy that's still looking for a wife, he can still indulge.
Yeah, yeah,
So I just want to be that guy that can tell someone that, because a lot of people don't think that way. It's just they think they have to like get rid of all the things that make them happy. And it's like no, it's like you can still do the things that make you happy even though they're nerdy and whatever. They don't fit in this image that you have of the guy you're supposed to be in order to find your person and start a family. But
Find your
Um,
wife
find your wife,
or
right?
your, I guess your spouse, because it could be the other way around. Never mind. We're gonna edit that
Yeah, I
part.
mean, I'm talking to young men because I'm a man myself, I think. But I'm just kidding.
So,
Uh,
so what do you bumping in your ears? Is Phantom Lady your favorite workout track? Does
wow.
that go hard in the gym?
It's funny you say that. I pretty much primarily listen to Phantom Lady.
Right
I may
on.
I may be a little biased, but yeah, definitely check her out. Spotify, new album, Confessions. Um, great music, and she's working on a new album that we're excited to see maybe sometime next year. Um, but I love to listen to Orthodox chanting. I found a couple Arabic chants that are just so can't I can't curse on this. I won't curse. They're so awesome.
You can't even
They're so
curse at
cool.
church.
Yeah, if I can't curse at church, I shouldn't be cursing on this. Um, they're bad butt. I'll put it that way. Like they get me fired up and really cool. I'll send them to you. One of them is a chant about the terrifying judgment,
Mm.
and it's just so cool that in the church we have these like Byzantine chants that like there's such a wide range of them. Like there's somber chants, there's joyful chants, and then there's like marching into battle chants.
Yeah.
So,
Arabic, Byzantine chants, they go hard.
oh yeah, oh yeah. So if you need to hit a PR in the gym, man, just play one of those.
All right, that's awesome. Okay, well, we're looking forward to hearing more from your channel, and we're looking forward to seeing how Body Ascetic grows and uh, where it might take all of us. So I think we're all
Mhm.
kind of excited about that.
Yeah, and I appreciate you having me on and all your support and um let's help each other, let's support each other, and I'm happy to be part of the OSBA and the Telegram. For anyone watching, definitely join the Telegram.
Yeah,
It's a good place to be and to also just to see the amount of creativity going on in the Orthodox space of literally we're building new things, we're building new businesses, new systems, new ideas, and so it's really cool to see Orthodox people doing that and supporting each other in that way.
thank you, brother. May God be your helper.
You too.
Chat. I'll talk to you later.
Take care. See you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.